She's not talking to me. It's not nice. She's always nice to me. Not, since I sent her the beach picture, she's not nice anymore.
You call the meeting back to order at 7:31. First item on the agenda is consent agenda items, minutes of the previous meeting, which was held on Monday, June the 24th. I hear a motion to approve the minutes.
Approve. Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the minutes as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. I counted that one.
Yeah, he made
Jeff.
Jeff, okay.
Sarah's not.
Sarah's voice is
Yeah. Who was
Jeff's voice coming from above. Consideration of possible action or revision to policy CFB local. What in the Sam Hill is that, Mr. Brown?
I'm going to refer. So I'm going to defer to Mrs. Mraz on this, but this is basically a policy that the federal government updated their policy, and we still had ours at the old level, and so we were more restrictive than the federal government is requiring us to. And I think that's the summary. Ms. Mraz, do you have any question on that? So we're recommending it. We're just changing from 5,000 to 10,000 in the capitalization limits. Am I right on that?
Yes.
Okay. And I would recommend it be approved.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded to edit policy CFB local to strike 5,000, add 10,000, where the sentence would read: the capitalization threshold for purposes of classifying individual capital assets will now be $10,000. Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Consideration of possible action on student transfer applications. You all have, there's a handout plus the ones that were included in your packet. If you would so desire, the chair would certainly look for a motion to approve all as presented.
So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded to approve the transfer applications as presented.
I do recommend
Any
them.
additional discussion?
Yeah, Superintendent Brown, is that your recommendation?
It is my recommendation, Mr. BA. Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Consideration of possible action, possible approval of guidelines for cell phone usage and possession on Perryton ISD campuses.
Okay, so in your board book or in the online, I think I'm just printing them. Could you grab those off the printer? The principals, this came up the last time we were meeting. The principals and I talked about, they got input from their staff and talked about cell phone guidelines that we're recommending to you today. And so to kind of summarize it, well, first let me talk a little bit about this. So I've been spending some time doing a little research on this, reading some books on it, looking at some reports, and I think there is a genuine concern with our kids and their brains and the effects that social media and cell phones and distraction are having on our children's brains. I also know for a fact from being a principal in a school and an administrator for a number of years that cell phones can cause problems in schools with social media. They can cause problems with students texting back and forth and texting people outside of school. And so the idea of limiting them in our schools, I think, is a pretty good idea. But what we're bringing to you tonight, really the biggest change comes at our high school. Our pre-K through our 8th grade have already done, I think, a very good job of limiting our cell phone usage and possession at our schools.
How do they do that, Greg? Say junior high?
Well, let's just say junior high. They have guidelines that the cell phones are not to be seen. They're to be off in the kid's backpack. If they're seen and if they're used, they're taken up. If they're taken up, they go to the office, and the kids have to pay $15 to get them back. If that happens a couple of times, then the child, when they set a rule that when a child gets to school, they have to go by the office and turn in their cell phone, so they're not in possession of the cell phone all throughout the day. And in discussion with, let's just say, junior high does a very good job. The teachers, and really that's the linchpin, the teachers have to buy into this, and they have to be the ones that are willing to enforce it. And at the junior high, the teachers have done a really good job of enforcing it.
It consistently, because I think Jeff made the point last time when we had this conversation, was there were some individual responses by teacher and classroom on how they handled cell phones.
I think, okay, remind me of that.
Jeff, you want to remind us?
Jeff, are you there?
Say that again, Richard, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I think the last meeting, Jeff, you mentioned that the way the high schools handle it, there were teachers that there were different levels of enforcement for the cell use, depending which class you were in, what type of class you were in. I think that was your statement, but I'll let you say that.
Yeah, when, and again, this is a couple of years ago when I was in it, and I think it's still true that it's kind of like teacher discretion. And I talked to some of the kids I was with this week as well about cell phones. They said they know who the teachers are, that they have a pretty strict policy, and it's not an issue. A lot of the teachers have the pouches, and they go in and put their cell phone in the pouch at the beginning of the class, and that's where it is through class. They said there's other teachers that don't mind, or some of them, maybe if they get an assignment done, they're allowed to be on their cell phone. So yeah, there's a lot of varying levels of restrictions at the high school. Probably still at this time. I know there was when I was still in the classroom as well.
And that's mainly at the high school, correct, Jeff?
Yes, that is at the high school.
Oh, but you're asking for a school-wide policy here.
This isn't a policy, this is a guideline.
Well,
That's why it's not a policy.
It's
Right.
going to be our rules for cell
Suggestions.
phones. Yeah, there can always be an exception, but with the administrator gives an exception, and it even spells out that in here as well. But I will say, so I agree, and really what Jeff is talking about is what I found. Up to 8th grade, it's very well restricted, and it's pretty well enforced. At the high school, it was kind of teacher discretion. Now, in her conversations, in Tori's conversations with staff, the staff recommended what we're recommending now, that basically during instructional time, there is going to be a rule of no cell phones. And that includes hallways, that includes going to the bathroom. During the instructional time,
So
cell phones are not going to be used.
Hours defined, is that what you're saying, Greg?
Yes, basically any time that's not lunch or after school.
So even in the
or before
passing
school.
periods.
Even during the passing periods, cell phones are not to be out or be used. No earbuds. Smartwatches can be used, but if they see them texting, if they see them receiving notifications, they pick up the smartwatches too. So we are going to be restricting the cell phone usage and possession during instructional time. And if you notice at the very top, that's one of the things that I put in that preamble, is that this is designed to protect our kids' attention and focus during instructional time. There's some side, and her staff, Tori's staff, have agreed, and this is where it's going to be, the linchpin of it, is the staff is going to have to buy in, the staff is going to have to enforce as well. But it's going to be the expectation that they follow the guidelines. And if they need the cell phone for something, for a class project, they have to get permission from the administration to do that.
So
There are some common exceptions, like photography. A lot of times they'll go out and they'll use their cell phone because they only have like 2 cameras in the class. So those kids will have kind of an exception during those class periods to go throughout the school and use it. But
so your staff didn't see problems with, as Jeff has described it, different rules for different guidelines, different guidelines for different classes.
I think, yeah, I think there is that. But I think that some of the teachers that had that use some of that discretion are willing to give it up. And I promise, so there's going to be there's probably going to be some, this is going to be a change for some of our teachers. I think, and so does Tori, as we were talking about this, that as we enforce this and the kids have less distractions and have more focus in the class, I really think the teachers who are using it now and enjoying that discretion, I think they'll be okay with it, because I think their kids will be more focused and will learn better.
So the administration for right now is asking for approval of the guidelines, not a policy change, but just the
No,
guidelines.
this isn't going in our policy book, but this is kind of like our parent-student handbook. These are our rules that we're going to use for cell phones. And one of the reasons I'm bringing it to you guys is because there's, there may be some resistance to change in some of our students, and some of their, parents may be involved.
Some of the teachers.
So it was important, especially if we're making this change, it was important that they have you guys' approval and support as well.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I'm not against this. I just, enforcement seemed like was going to be the issue.
Yeah, it will be.
Yeah, so everybody needs to be on board.
Do you think that some perhaps might appreciate the guidelines as a backing for them
Yes.
enforcing the rules? Without it, they
Yes.
felt they were on their own, but with the backing
Yes.
of the administration and the board,
Yes.
I have no issues.
Any other questions? Well, so basically, let me walk through this just so everybody knows. Pre-K through fifth grade in our elementaries, they're to be often in the backpack, and even watches. I mean, they're much more restricted. Junior high, often in the backpack. Kids can wear watches, but if it's used for communication, if they're texting or getting notifications, those are picked up too. High school, same thing. There is less probably in the junior high. They make sure they contact parents on the second time. High school, they don't. They pretty well let the kids be independent and work independently of that. There is in the high school and in Ludi Pena, with the administrator's permission, teachers can use it for class for instructional purposes.
Part of the 2-3 studies we looked at for cell phone usage actually went back to my earlier comments on bullying. Okay, and that was part of what every study I saw was comments on bullying, especially on young women, that they were, their grades had gone down. There were a lot of social consequences.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it's an enforcement. Again, I'm not against this. I just kind of want to see where it goes.
Well, and I can't say that bullying is going to be completely limited, because once they get out of school, they can get on their phones and they can probably do some of that. But I really do think it'll be very much limited during the school day. And I can even see if a social media post goes out there and we can note the time, and that was a time where the kid should have been in class, there can be some disciplinary measures, because he or she obviously used their phone during
I
class.
think thinking through all what's going to come here, I think is going to be difficult. But we have another expert with us that did it successfully in a smaller school district, so I don't trust that. So, did you want to say something, Dr. Hale?
Other questions, comments?
Do you see this as a stopping point, or you see this as a midway point?
That's a good question. There are districts around the country that are banning cell phones, period, at school.
Completely, yes.
I don't know that we're at that point. I can tell you that if it continues to be a problem with kids' focus and bullying, et cetera, we might want to consider that. But especially in our rural area, where kids, they're athletes, they have to be on the bus. We got, kids on the bus. We got parents coming in to pick them up. I mean, I hate to ban them completely because I think they do have some use with connecting with our parents and kids getting in touch with their parents after school and things like that.
We've all been assimilated by the board because the phones
Yes.
are basically an appendage now.
They are.
And so that's why I said here, I think last month, that this is also addressing cultural change.
Yes.
I mean, I think it's really fine.
Yep. Okay.
Anything else? Chair would entertain a motion to approve the guidelines as presented.
Move.
Barrier, second.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve the guidelines for cell phone usage and possession as presented. Any additional discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Jeff, are you aye or nay?
Yes, I am an aye.
Okay. All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Back to the agenda. Set date for next month's regular board meeting. Not the hardest thing we have to do all meeting long.
So the date that's on the calendar right now is the third Monday. This being August, I would say be flexible because we have to have 2 meetings in August because we have to set the tax rate and then we also have to approve the budget. So I would recommend that for now, third Monday is the 19th, and we keep that date. We need to expect a meeting before that to set the tax rate. So we'll keep unless Ms. Mraz, do you have a suggestion for?
I like the 19th for the regular meeting. We'll probably need a second budget workshop once I get the MCR in.
Okay.
So that's the 5th this year, I believe. Yes.
Are our final numbers in?
No, sir. They'll be in on the 25th.
Okay, thank you.
And then
25th of July?
yes.
Yes, thank you.
And then we could even do a later one to actually adopt the budget and set the tax rate past the 19th. But
Right.
the
We just have to have it adopted before September 1st.
Yes, sir.
So would you say the next meeting, a brief meeting on the 5th?
It could come out as late as like 11:59 from TEA that day. So
Okay.
Maybe the 5th might be pushing it.
yes. Plus, then I have to plug it into a few different spreadsheets.
Okay. Okay, so 8th? Thursday the 8th? Brief
Could even
meeting?
do a lunch.
Lunch meeting?
Wait.
Okay.
Okay.
And then we'll keep the 19th. Let's see, that's 2, 7, 1, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, that's 10 days before. It matches statute. 8th to the 19th.
What date was that?
The 8th, a noon meeting on August 8th. And that's where we will set the proposed tax rate.
Okay.
And then the 19th will be our regular meeting, at least as it stands now.
So how much of a workshop is it going to be? Brittany mentioned workshop, and some we do that, and sometimes it's just a vote. How much of a workshop on the budget is it going to be?
We'll probably do a separate workshop when
You had some
once we
ideas
have
you
the
wanted to discuss, correct?
yeah later
Okay.
in our workshop in a minute.
Okay. Everybody good with those for penciled in numbers? Penciled in.
Just don't surprise me. Okay.
Okay. Seeing nothing else on our agenda, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.